Hi everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kat Sharp, and in January this year, 2021, I moved with myself, my husband and our 10-year-old son from the UK over to Canada, Ontario to be exact. Now the route that we chose was due to our age. So I am 34, my husband is 38, and we don't have a degree. Now, because neither of us had a degree, we were both in sort of good government jobs. That is never something that crossed my mind. I left school when I was young, and all I wanted to do was earn money and not have to worry about student fees. In Canada, it's a bit different. Most of the sort of decent jobs require a higher level of secondary education, which is not something that I was used to in the jobs that I had gone for in the UK. So because of that, and because we didn't have this, we didn't score enough points to go down the PR route. So we were too old to go through the holiday work visas, so we had to look at a different option. Now, I was advised to look into a student visa. So the student visa, you find yourself into a 2-year college course. It has to be one of the known listed institutions in Canada. And then at the end of the 2-year college course, you can then qualify, depending on your course, so always just check your course, but you can qualify for a 3-year post-grad work permit. So our dream was to move abroad, and we were tossing up for ages between Canada, America. We wanted one or the other, but we then had to weigh out the pros and cons of each country, write them down, and decide on what was going to work best for us and our family. So America, the pros: house prices are definitely cheaper than here. There's a lot of things that are cheaper in America. The cons, at the time that we were thinking Donald Trump was the president, it didn't fill me with much hope. Gun crime was another big one, and guns in schools and everything, and that kind of just freaked me out a bit. That swayed us more towards Canada, which is supposed to have a very high level of education out here, and the living environment swayed us more towards Canada and the outdoorsy side of living. So we chose Canada, and I'm very grateful for that. Okay, so going back to the visa side of things, I applied for our student visa myself. So by applying for the study visa for me, that entitled my husband, or it will entitle your partner, whoever you're with, to an open work permit. So I've got my study permit for 2 years. My husband has got his open work permit for 2 years. At the end of my course, I will get a 3-year post-grad work permit. And after that, I will then, so once my course finishes in probably April, May, I'm not entirely sure when it finishes, but once it does finish, I will then have to find myself a full-time job. Now, once I've been in full-time work over here for a year, I'm then entitled to apply for PR. Now, because I would have completed a 2-year college course in Canada, your points are a lot higher, and you've got a lot more chance of being able to remain here, which is, at the end of the day, that is our main goal. We sold our whole life in England to move here, so we have put everything into it, and it's not an easy thing. Now, like, if anyone's watched my previous videos, you'll see my first video and I'm like, so you only live once, so just go for it. But it's not just a spur of the moment decision that you can make, it impacts your entire life. Now, I think of, like, we're 9 months into it now, and I look and I think about what we had in the UK. We had a really nice house. We both had really good, well-paid jobs. We worked for the government. We sold our house. We sold every single item in our house because there was no point in paying the costs for shipping to come over here, and then we didn't have a place to go. We were moving in with my cousin until we got ourselves sorted, and it's such a big move. Now, it's not easy. So the study route, it sounds like a blast because I have essentially had 2 years, or it's not quite 2 years, it's like 16 months of not working full time, because when you're on a study permit, you can only work 20 hours a week. That sounds like it would be lovely. the reality is a little bit different. Now, it is hard being a student. I'm not going to say that it's not. It sounds like a great gig, and I've always moaned and said, oh, I'd love to be a student, because I never had that student life. I never went to university. I finished college and I went straight into full-time work because I wanted to earn money. And now I'm a student and I've got what I wanted, the student life. I'm broke. Now, it is the hardest feeling in the world, going from earning a really good amount of money and having a double income and having a nice house, being like as brassic as we are now, with one income coming in, with house prices in Canada through the roof, and me earning next to no money at all because I'm in a job working 16 hours a week, and then it's just not a lot of money. Like, we don't have, like, I say we don't have any money. We do. We've got the money that we sold our house for in the UK, but we don't want to spend that because that is what's going to be our lifeline for setting us up when we can eventually buy a house here. Now, I'm not sure how we're going to ever buy a house here because all of the houses that I'm looking at that I like are like $1 million, and that's no exaggeration. So when we were looking at moving out here to Ontario, I figured that everything was achievable and everything was cheaper, and it's definitely not been what I thought in the terms of money. It hasn't been. Everything is so much more expensive. The food shopping is more expensive out here. The insurance, so much more expensive out here. Housing, so much more expensive out here. But there are pros and cons to everything. So there are a lot of things out here that are a lot cheaper than England, and things that I appreciate, like clothes shopping, so much cheaper than England. Designer brands, so much cheaper than England. Gas and electric, cheaper than England. Fuel prices, cheaper than England. So there are swings and roundabouts to everything. You just have to weigh up the pros and cons. Now, it does sound a bit like I'm just like, Canada's really expensive, don't come here, and that's not it at all, because I will go on and I will explain to tell you how and why I think that it was a good move. It's just, I want people to be aware of the reality of the situation. If you can come here and find it really bloody easy, then good on you. But we have been through some dramas. Now, for the people that have watched my previous vlogs, maybe like, Kat, where have you been? Like, you haven't posted anything in ages. And that is the truth. And that is because there has been so much drama going on, and it's not fun for you guys to see constant drama, me ripping my hair out, and that just, okay, it might make really good TV and you might be like, wow, it's like a episode of Corrie or something. But for me, I'm quite happy to share all of my experiences, but I needed to be in a mentally ready position to come on and tell you all of these things, rather than me being upset and emotional about it. So I'm in a good place now where I can deal with it. But moving across the country and leaving all of your friends and coming here isolated does bring its challenges, and you will have ups and downs, and if you don't, then that's brilliant. But if you're me, then you have many, many, many ups and downs. Has got any questions about the student visa route or the process or anything, or just any advice that they'd like, then please send me a message. You can find me on Instagram, Kat in Canada, or you can comment below on the vlog and I will hopefully answer your questions. I am not an immigration consultant, disclaimer. I have just done the process myself and can share any advice and tips that may be useful to other people in a similar situation to ourselves. Quick background story. So we moved from the UK over to Canada, moved in with my cousin. She lives in a place called Stroud, which is in Innisfil in Ontario. We stayed living with her from January of this year until the end of May. And then on the 1st of June, we got ourselves signed up into a year contract on a rental accommodation. So we have found the perfect place in South Barry. We moved in, there's a vlog about our house move, and I love it. And it's just, the problem is I love it too much. We're in a really lovely neighborhood in a really nice area, and so out of my league for when we come to buy a house, which is just disappointing. So I will do everything in my power to earn mega money so that I can get a house just like this in an area just like this. Whereas Scott is like, we need to compromise, we need to look at townhouses, we need to look at different areas, we need to look at cities, and I'm like, no, I do not compromise. I want what I want, and I want the swimming pool in the back garden, and I want the hot tub, I want the waiter service. No, I'm joking. But I do, like, I come here and I gave up my entire life for the dream, so the dream has to work. And I think that's why I put a lot of pressure on myself, and why I feel like it's so important to tell you guys about it and to have this documented so that you can see the ups and downs of what we've gone through. So, work. So, myself as a student, I come over here, I worked for a few months in a local women's homeless shelter, and that was fine for me to work at, but because of COVID, there wasn't a lot for me to do, and I felt like a bit of a spare part. So I need to be in a job where I'm busy doing stuff. So then I found another job when we moved into our house here. It kind of runs simultaneously at the same time. I started my new job working as an assistant for a realtor in Barry. Now that is currently what I'm doing at the moment. Now Scott, he was in the same profession as me in the UK. We both worked as officers in the prison service. Now he come over here wanting to go straight into the prison. So he applied last summer for 2 positions, one of them being a young offenders institution and one of them being an adult male correctional facility. Now we got here in the January. Now in the January he heard from the adult male correctional facilities, and they said they wanted him to do all of the testing. So he went down to Toronto. He done something called a FitCo, which is basically a fitness test to get into the prison service. So he done all of that. He then had to do something called a GED. Now, you may come across this if you do not have a education that is recognized out here, then you will have to prove that you could have passed school in Canada by taking a test, which is also, you have to pay for it. Now, Scott had been to college, he'd got diplomas, but the diplomas were like work-based diplomas. So a diploma for care and custody in a prison environment, such and such. And that, even though that was a level 3 diploma, it is not recognized out here because it is not a college education, it is a work education diploma. So he had to pay and go through the GED. Now the GED, I can't remember how many components there are, 4 or 5. You do social studies, science, English, maths, and you have to go and attend a test center and sit. To me, it's like a GCSE exam, but maybe a little bit higher level. So he had to do all of that. So he's like constantly jumping through hoops and being met with barriers and forking out money left, right, and center. By the way, it's October and he still is waiting for all of these processes to fall in line. So he done his FitCo, he's done his GED. Now the GED took bloody ages because of COVID, so he's only just kind of finished the process going back from January after booking it, getting cancelled, booking it, getting cancelled, and so on and so on. So this has been the longest process. He then thought, well, he needs to get a job. He can't just wait forever for the prison, so he needs to get another job. So he then had to take a security guard's license. So he had to do however many hours of training to be a security guard. Then he had to apply for the license. Then he had to wait for the license to turn up. then he managed to find a job. So at the moment he's working for a security company in Barry, and he has been as a supervisor pretty much since he got here, which he likes, but he's still looking for that big break to get into the prison. Now he's also heard back from the Young Offenders Institute, and he's had to do a different fitness test for them because they don't use the same fitness test as the adult correctional. So the amount of trips that he's made to like Toronto area, he's then had to do medicals. He's had so many medicals because for jobs out here, they send you on a lot of medicals. You have to get blood work done, you have to get all of this done. Like, I've never known anything like it. So in the UK, I think I applied for the prison service in October, and I started my job in the January. Out here, it can take over a year just to get in, and because of the processes, it's just nuts. Now, I thought it would be easy to get a job in Canada with the experience and the life experience and the job experience, and it's not. Everything is a big process, and you need to dedicate time in order to get what you want. So he is at the final stages, and he will be going into the prison, be it the adults or the young offenders, but we are still waiting. So that is the job situation, and it is not straightforward. The best thing is we both have jobs, so I can't complain about that. So Taylor, our son, has gone to school out here now in Canada, and I can say that I am very happy with the level of schooling. Now, he started off in a school called Sunnybray, which was in Stroud, and he did really enjoy it there, but he didn't have much time there before COVID then shut the school down and it all went to remote learning, and that's when it all just went out the window because I think every parent gave up on this online learning, and the kids were out playing in the street, and to try and get him to sit down when I was trying to work and everything, it was just an absolute nightmare. So he had an extra long summer and he thoroughly enjoyed it, and now he is at his new school, which is at the location in South Barry, which we're living at now. And he's having a great time. Now, when he first started, I was a bit unsure about what happens, like what they are allowed to teach you out here, because he come home and was saying some rather weird stuff that he had learned at school that the teacher had taught him. And it's not that it was like outrageous, like how could the teacher teach my son that, but it was more of politics and opinions, and there was a lot of strong opinions about the government, and Taylor come back with this attitude that this is what's happening and President Trudeau is doing this, and I said, you've got to like slow down here. This is opinions, these are not facts. And the problem is kids think that their teachers are God and that the teachers know everything, and I'm not saying that they don't, but I think the kids to be drumming politics and your opinions onto a child at 10 years old is a bit extreme. But hey, like, to have a child come home and talk and want to have a debate about politics at 10 years old, I mean, that's like, I can only but encourage that. So the other good thing about the schooling out here is they offer the school bus service, and it's free. You don't pay for the school bus. Now, I think that's something that we're missing out on in England, that we don't have the school bus that comes and picks up all of the children for school. So it comes to the end of our road and then takes the kids to school on the bright yellow school bus, and it's great. And it gives Taylor that bit of independence, because normally we would have to walk him to school, see him off at the gates, but now I send him out of the door with his packed lunch and his rucksack on. He walks to the end of the road, gets on, and then he comes off the school bus at the end of the day and walks home. And I just think it's that little bit more of freedom for him, and I think it's really good. The downside of the school bus is that Taylor has been in isolation for the last week because a child on the school bus that sits in close proximity to Taylor was COVID positive. Now, we have had 2 COVID tests now, because you have to have one immediately after they inform you that you were of close contact, and then you had to have one 7 days after exposure. So luckily Taylor is negative, but that's been a nightmare. So I've been at college, I've had my child in isolation, My boss who I work for, she's got a kid that is in the same class as the kid who's COVID positive, so I haven't been to work for the last week. We've both been home with kids in isolation. So the school bus is great, other than when global pandemics get thrown into the mix and people have to isolate. But there we go. The next thing that I will talk to you about is ice hockey. So ice hockey is a big thing out here in Canada, and it's what all of the kids are playing or want to be playing. So Taylor, because obviously we're from England and Scott loves football and his dad loves football and he loved football, he wanted to be set up on a soccer team out here. So we set him up going to trials for a soccer team. After about 3 weeks, he come home and told me that he didn't want to play soccer anymore. He wanted to play hockey. Now, this, like, I'm all for supporting children and what they want until you've seen the price of hockey. So we had a look at how much it would cost to set him up for the hockey team. Now, we've set him up for House League, which is like the basic league. And then you would go on from House League to be on a rep team, which is like a higher level, you get graded. So just for General House League, just to join him up, it cost $500. So we had to pay that out without even knowing that he's gonna want to do that or stay in it. $500, we had to get him hockey kit. And it's not like just buying football boots and football socks and a football outfit. It's a big thing. So if we were to buy it brand new, I don't know what it would have cost. But I found a place called Play It Again Sports down in Collingwood, and they sell all sort of used and secondhand hockey gear and equipment. So we took him down there with when my parents come over, and got him kitted out. Now, you can't get everything secondhand because I don't want him to have a secondhand helmet because that might have damage. Obviously his mouth guard is not going to be secondhand, his jock strap isn't secondhand, his socks aren't secondhand. So it was just the more expensive things, the chest pads, the elbow pads, the shin pads. Like, the kit is unreal. I did not realize how much kit they have to wear for hockey. I think probably the kit cost in total about $500. So we've spent $1,000 on getting Taylor sorted out for hockey. So he went to play ice hockey last weekend and really enjoyed it, had a load of fun. And actually he was really quite good considering he's never played hockey before, and all of these kids have probably been skating since they were 4 years old because they were born in Canada. So hopefully he will keep doing that and I will keep you updated, but hockey is an expensive sport. Now, I've already been warned that if he goes into rep, it's mega money. So I've told him already, I said, don't be like working too hard, just go mediocre, enjoy yourself, have fun and stay in the House League because mummy can't afford rep team right now. We are poor. So he's having a great time. So I'll just go through some of the dramas that we've had this year. So with regards to COVID, this has really impacted our journey and our move over here because it's stopped us from having those close connections with our family. So we moved over in January. We were then planning that hopefully Georgie, my stepdaughter, would be out here in April for like the Easter holidays. And we then got more and more around to the fact that that wasn't going to happen because COVID was all over the place. They'd shut the schools down, everyone was remote learning. COVID was bad in the UK, COVID was bad in like everywhere. So we kind of got our heads around the fact that that wasn't going to happen. The next thing that I had was my best friend Freya's wedding, and I am absolutely mortified that I could not get there. Now, I think their wedding was planned for July, but then it got moved because of COVID and it happened in August. And I thought, well, that would be absolutely no problem at all. So I went for my COVID vaccine that I didn't want in the first place, but I wanted to go to my friend's wedding and I knew that the government were going to stop me if I didn't have my vaccine. So I jumped through all of the hoops, got the COVID vaccine, had my first one, had a horrible reaction, had the second one, had a horrible reaction, and then thought that that was it then. We booked our flights to the UK, and then just before we're informed that we couldn't go to the wedding and we couldn't fly to the UK because we hadn't had the vaccine through the NHS. Now, it's the same vaccine. I had Pfizer, but they wouldn't allow that because we didn't have the NHS vaccine. Now, that was one thing that kind of ruined our whole year, that we couldn't get back, we couldn't see the family, we couldn't go to the wedding, we couldn't see our friends. And then the other thing was that my parents were supposed to be flying out and spending the whole of August with us, and they were supposed to be bringing Georgie out then. Now, that also couldn't happen because of COVID. Our borders were shut until the 7th of September, at which point my parents eventually did manage to get out here, and they arrived on the day of the borders opening on the 7th of September. Now, they couldn't bring Georgie because Georgie has just started high school, and she had just started the new school, and that would be right smack bang for 3 weeks when she's just had all of this time off, so we couldn't do that. So my parents come out for 3 weeks, and Taylor's dad flew from England to come out here for 2 weeks, so that was really nice. We finally got to see people. And then Georgie is now, we're now waiting for Georgie to come out in the October half term. So she's coming out on the 25th of October, and we can't wait. And our really good friends from England, Bart and Yvette, are bringing Georgie over with them. Now, this is the other drama that we've had. So Bart and Yvette have got a 14-year-old son, and he was going to be having his vaccine in the UK to be able to fly over here, because at the moment the border restrictions say that you can come to Canada as a tourist if you're fully vaccinated with 2 doses. However, in the UK, fully vaccinated for a child is 1 dose, whereas out here it's 2 doses. So the other day I phoned up the border agency and said, how is this going to work? Our friends are coming over with their 14-year-old son. He's fully vaccinated in England, but it's not what you would class as fully vaccinated out here. And they said it's tough. He would need to quarantine for 2 weeks. Well, they're only coming for a week, so that makes absolutely no sense. So then I was mad, and I was like, but he's fully vaccinated. I can completely understand if he's not vaccinated at all and why you would have to quarantine. But the child is fully vaccinated legally in the UK. The fact that we want to pump more of the vaccine over here into kids is just beyond me. And the fact that you're going to penalise somebody for already jumping through all of these hoops and then still stop them from travelling just really, really angers me. So that's another thing that I've been angry about. The other thing that's happened since I've been here, and this has happened in the last week and a half, I was at work and decided that I would stack it down a flight of stairs and rolled my ankle, and I have torn my ATF ligament in my ankle. I won't lift my ankle up to show you, but it is all misshaped, swollen, bruised, and I am now in a boot for the next 4 weeks, which is just making things even more miserable because I can't just sit down. I want to be out doing stuff all of the time. I can't go out, and it's just an absolute nightmare for me. So I've buggered up my ankle just to top off this already troublesome year. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and I've left it to the last for a reason, is to talk about Simba. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll see that I had a dog called Simba in the UK who was 1.5 years old. He was still a bit of a pup. He was half American Bulldog and half German Shepherd. Now, we spent a lot of money on getting him out here to be with our family. I can't remember the costs exactly, but it probably was in the region of 3,000 English pounds to get him over here and pay for immigration fees. And I've got a video on him coming to Canada. Now, I haven't sort of been able to pluck up the courage to speak about this on the video up until now, because it has been very, very upsetting for me. So one thing that I will say is that the plane journey ruined him. Now, something that happened on the plane, or just the traumatic experience of him being on the plane, changed his personality. Now, he was already a bit of a nervous dog, and I didn't realize that by bringing him out here, I would be putting him under so much more stress than what he needed to. If I'd have known before we'd have moved here, I would have left him in the UK with our friends that already knew Simba. But I can't go back on what's happened. We brought him out here to be with our family. Now, things happened out here. Simba become super aggressive, not to us, not to family, not to people. He wasn't aggressive to people, but towards other dogs. Now, I got him enrolled in a training facility out here, well, in a few training facilities. I found somebody that was really good with him, who was an ex-police dog trainer, and things started to change. Now, I had a couple of sessions with him, and Simba then was able to come on a dog walk with me, walk past other dogs and remain calm and collected without losing his mind. And then something switched again and he went into aggressive mode. Now, there's a lot more of a backstory, but it become dangerous for me because he was a strong dog. He would have me over, and then it's a risk to other people and other people's dogs. And people out here, they will call animal control, or they will try to sue you if your dog does any damage. And I don't want to put Simba under that stress and have him cause any damage. So we then, what I explained to you, he then went to our friend's daughter who lives on a farm in Bradford while we were getting sorted and getting our rented accommodation. So we had our rented accommodation, and it got to the point where I thought, right, we're in a position where we need to discuss Simba, because everybody in the street here, because this is such an outdoorsy place with trails behind us and everything, everyone's got dogs. There's dogs everywhere. We don't have an enclosed garden here, so we would have to figure out something and build a fence to keep Simba in the garden. And I was going over and over in my head about how this was going to work, because the worst thing that I could think of is putting him under stress. And he's on a farm at the moment with acres of land and is happy, and all I wanted to do was be completely selfish and have my dog back, because I loved him like so much. Now, he was such a part of my family, of our family. He was so good. He was the best dog that you could ever ask for. As a family dog, he was the best. He was obedient. You could have your food on the table and he would not touch your food. He would, if you told him to sit, he'd sit. If you told him to do this, he'd do this. The only thing that changed that was if you threw another dog into the mix. So you couldn't just go around your friend's house who have a dog. You couldn't walk him down the street easier. And that's really hard when you're in Canada and you want to do all of these dog walks and you can't take your own dog for a walk, because like, I felt that I'd failed him. Now, it's not Simba's fault, it's my fault. Because I loved him so much, I was not strong enough to be the alpha. So it got to the point where I was like crying and crying about it and stressing about what we're going to do. And then the best thing happened. So our friend's daughter, who had been looking after Simba on the farm, asked if they could keep Simba. They've got a daughter who loved Simba. Simba was on so much land, he was running around, he was doing really well with that family. They were taking him for walks all of the time. If there were other dogs walking past, she had managed to get him to sit, to stay, and to wait for the other dog to pass, which is something that I couldn't do. And like, I think of myself as a failure because I failed him. I couldn't be that strong, authoritative leader that he needed. But I then had to kind of get over that and think that he is happy. He's got a loving family. He's got so much land to run around. And and that makes me happy, because I couldn't bear the thought of bringing him all the way to Canada, taking him to a dog shelter, which I would never do ever, but just the thought of what was I going to do, the panic, and it just made me feel so much happier that he is now with people that we know in a nice environment. So the other thing to that is that I can't be without a dog. I love family dogs, and they are part of the family, and it's in no way a replacement for Simba, but we have now got Hugo. So Hugo is, I guess, more of a manageable size for me. He is still very obedient, even though I kiss him and hug him and love him to death. And he is great with other dogs. I've been, like, because of what happened with Simba, I've been taking it upon myself to go to the dog parks, socialize, get him used to all of these different experiences, and make him so that he isn't nervous, that he can do all of these things. I can take him to my friends' houses who have got dogs, and I just needed to give back some of the love that we wanted to give to Simba, but I couldn't give it to him, and we wanted to give that to another dog. So this is Hugo. So Hugo has got different colored eyes. So he's got one blue eye and one brown eye, and he is, I would say he's very well behaved, but he's not. He's a puppy. He's hectic, and he runs around and he does squeaky toys, but then he chills out and then he sleeps. But Hugo has got his own Instagram, which is Hugo's Boston Terrier Club, and he has got more followers than me because he's cuter, because he's a little cutie. So I'm sorry that this was a long vlog, but this is just an update of our 9 months, trying to cram it all into one vlog just to let you know. Do we regret moving here? Absolutely not. Has it been hard? Yes, and there's been times that I've sat here and felt like, oh my God, my friends are all away in England and I'm stuck here and I have got no money and I can't do all of these things that I want to do, and was it a mistake selling up and moving here? And then on the other side of things, I look at the lifestyle here and how happier it makes me, and I just wish that all of my friends and family could fly over here and move here, and we could all be one big happy family in Canada. But I know that it doesn't work like that, so I've got to put on my big girl pants and sort out my life here by myself. But if you guys have got any questions about anything, or anything that you would like me to go into further detail on my next vlog, then please put it in the comments below, and I hope I haven't sent you to sleep. And if you would like to continue watching my vlogs, then please remember to like and subscribe and look out for my next vlog.